Like my shirt says, it's the perfect weather to read together. In this case, it's a book haul, and it was my make me feel better after some not great news about my jaw this past week. So I decided what better way to cheer myself up than go to a thrift store book haul. The timing was perfect. Books were 30% off, and as usual, I made some excellent finds. I picked up Plato the Republic, looking forward to reviewing this again, and I'm pretty sure this has something to do with Atlantis. I know it came up in Critias. I'm just not sure about the Republic. But either way, I'm looking forward to revisiting Plato. Folk and Fairy Tales. This is edited by Martin Hollett and Barbara Karasik. This is the 4th edition. I picked this up because it's actually an anthology of folk and fairy tales, 52 stories from a range of historical and geographical traditions. Sections group tales together by theme or juxtapose variations of individual tales, inviting comparison and analysis across cultures and genres. This actually seems to be a textbook doing the study of the different folk tales. It also has beautiful illustrations, so I'm curious to read this because it isn't just the folk tales, it's taking a look at so much more. We have Voyage of the Pyramid Builders. This is also by Robert M. Schoch with Robert Aquinas McNally. I picked up another book by these two authors, The Pyramid Quest. So I'm definitely getting back into my ancient Egypt vibe. And yesterday I just started reading The Orion Mystery. Now, this will be posted in a week or two. Right now it's October the 13th. So it'll be a little while before you see this, and I may have finished the Orion Mystery by then. The Messianic Legacy. Now this is by Michael Beignet, Richard Leigh, and Henry Lincoln. They're the authors of The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail. That's mentioned in the Da Vinci Code. It's a book that I read years ago. I just read again recently, as in the past year or two. It isn't that I buy what these authors have to say, it's I'm curious to see where they went next, and I'll get into a lot more about them and the code when I start breaking all of that down. I may end up just doing a Da Vinci series because there have been so many spin-off books to that. I'll have to wait and see where that all goes. Turn Right at Machu Picchu. This is by Mark Adams, Rediscovering the Lost City One Step at a Time. I've always found Machu Picchu a fascinating area to read about, the different culture. How did they actually build this massive city so high up in the mountains where, of course, the air is much thinner, so it isn't just a matter of how did they get all those materials up there and put together. It's just a very fascinating location I'm looking forward to reading more about. I do have other books about Machu Picchu where it's mentioned, and the photographs are just amazing. I always love when you come up with different little, there you go, person bookmark that page, so I'll leave it there. There's no photos in this particular book, but I'm still very much looking forward to the read. I always enjoy getting 3 books in one, especially when it costs me all of $4.50, which is an amazing price. This is The Night World, number 2. This is by L.J. Smith. There you go. I was going to say I have not read this author before, but this is the author of The Vampire Diaries. And they did actually have a copy of The Vampire Diaries at the store, but I think it was volume number 3, so I didn't pick that up. But this includes Dark Angel, The Chosen, and Soulmate. At the back, we have vampires, werewolves, witches, shapeshifters. They live among us without our knowledge. Night World is their secret society, a secret society with very strict rules, and falling in love breaks all the laws of the Night World. There's a brief summary of the 3 books, so I'm curious to give this a read. We have Victor Hugo, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I've seen the movie, love the name Esmeralda, but I've never actually read the story. This is a Wordsworth Classics. Recently, I've read some of the other classics like Carmilla, Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'd seen movies years ago, but I'd just read the actual works in the last few years. Dracula, on the other hand, that was a 1970s read, certainly a classic on its own, and my first introduction to the vampires. Emotional vampires. How's that for a segue? Dealing with people who drain you dry. This is by Albert J. Bernstein. So obviously this is not the Dracula, other types of fictional vampires. These are the people who come into our lives and just leave us feeling blah. And we all come across them in our day-to-day lives, come across them on social media as well. I'm looking forward to reading this. This term also comes up in Judith Orloff's books in relation to being empaths and being particular about the people that you keep around you and your own energy levels. There's also connections in with the Celestine prophecy and keeping your own energy high. So again, for me, books, there's just so many connections to other books and even other genres. This one I couldn't resist. Muggles and Magic. So right away, you know it has to do with Harry Potter because that's where the term Muggles came up. This is a revised and expanded 3rd edition by George Beahm. Illustrations are by Tim Kirk. It's an unofficial guide to J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter phenomena. This book is not prepared, endorsed, or authorized by J.K. Rowling or Warner Brothers and is not part of the Harry Potter series. Interesting that that disclaimer would be at the bottom of the book. I'm curious to find out what is covered in this. The points at the back. Rowling's fascinating life, wildly successful writing career, behind-the-scenes look at the movies, detailed look at Harry Potter books, first-hand report and exclusive photos of Rowling's appearance along with King and Irving in New York City in 2006. So this must be possibly before a lot of the controversy started. The best Harry Potter websites in the Muggle world, and much more. This will be an interesting read. This book I bought because of the author. I only have one other book by Brad Steiger, I believe is how you say his name. Our Shared World of the Supernatural, True Eyewitness Accounts of the Other World. I have one other book by him, and for those who have been interested in the paranormal or ghost stories, UFOs, long ago, as in decades, this will be a name that's familiar. He was popular around the same time that many people were talking about Ed and Lorraine Warren, Hans Holzer. I featured two of the books that I have by Hans Holzer, one about ghosts, the other about witches. So this was a whole group of authors who I was familiar with long ago. Couldn't resist getting an Irma Bomback because who doesn't enjoy a good laugh and a book about humor? And Irma's Cope book, How to Get from Monday to Friday in 12 Days. I loved reading Irma Bomback, so this will be an enjoyable visit with an author I once enjoyed. Dan Brown's Angels and Demons. Not gonna lie, it wasn't a book that I enjoyed reading. Robert Langdon is... I'll talk more about it when I get into Dan Brown's books. But when I saw this, I decided to pick it up because, again, that whole Da Vinci spiral, getting into Dan Brown's works, I decided if I'm going to talk about Langdon, then I may as well go to the first book. On the front, it says, before the Da Vinci Code was broken, the world lay at the mercy of angels and demons. This one I picked up because it's a Canadian bestseller. It's always hard to find Canadian authors. The Demonologist. This is by Andrew Piper. The Demonologist has all the twisting excitement of a Dan Brown novel and all the lurid, gory violence of a Stieg Larsson. Now, I'm not sure about the gory violence part, but I decided I would give this a read, and for $1, I figured even if I end up unhauling it or passing it on to a friend, it's okay. It was only $1. Actually, it wasn't even that because I got it 30% off. A stolen child, an ancient evil, a father's descent, and the literary masterpiece that holds the key to his daughter's salvation. We'll see how it goes. I'm not really into the gory, violent part, but hopefully it's not too bad. This is High School Memories, King Lear by Shakespeare. It has been such a long time since I have read any Shakespeare. I've been to Stratford to see some of the plays, which is always a wonderful trip and experience. I mean, the little town is just amazing. There are a lot of beautiful sights. It's a whole experience going to Stratford, not just watching the plays. Back when I was in high school, we actually read Shakespeare. Although I worked in schools for 23 years, I don't remember ever doing a Shakespeare play, which does make me sad because there are just so many wonderful things about it. But times they are a-changing. When I went to high school, we had to do King Lear, and when I went, we had grade 13, so I ended up reading 5 different plays. We had Twelfth Night, we did Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Hamlet, and King Lear. Hamlet was probably one of my favorites, but I also liked Macbeth as well, and King Lear was also memorable, so I'm very much looking forward to revisiting this play. And it turns out, Noah, I'm not the only one who highlights and annotates, so that will make it a very interesting read. Okay, now I'm super stoked to read that. I found another Anne Rice. This is The New Tales of the Vampires. This is Pandora. She does come up in the Vampire Chronicles. I'm looking forward to this, and what a gorgeous cover. I decided to pick this up for a number of different reasons. Now, I've mentioned before that for me, the Bible is a research tool. It ties in with so many of the books that I've been reading, whether it's the Da Vinci Code, Ancient Egypt, a number of other things, the Nephilim. So I decided Study Bible, the new Student Bible, would be an interesting read. This is a new revised standard version. This is from 1990. And I decided it would be a fascinating read as it goes through. There are different things throughout it. So it would be a good way to learn different things about the Bible and not just cross-referencing with the quotes that people use here and there. On the back, this Bible has outstanding features to guide your study and reflection. Introductions to each book, plus insight and highlight notes. Subject guide to the Bible's message on today's topics. And a 3-track reading program to help set personal reading goals. I'm very much looking forward to getting into this. I also have my Idiot's Guide to the Bible. I've picked up copies of the Bible to pull things together. So I'm going to be a busy girl through the winter getting all these study programs together, whether it's the Bible or the Julia Cameron books that I've mentioned. Full Circle, a journal of inspiration and reflection, says this has the Circle 1990 to 2005. Basically, I got this for the idea of setting up a journal. I love the spiral. This is the Circle Women's Center. And basically what they have are quotes and then a page to write on. So what I may do with this is the same that I did with another planner, and that is just cut it up and use it in the new journal that I'm putting together. This was put together by a group in my city. There's a website and ways to contact them, so I'm actually now very curious, and I may end up making a phone call and some local connections. Definitely could not resist Star Wars by George Lucas. Yes, this is another repurchase. And although I've already done my repurchase video, after having tracked down the Star Trek books to be part of Book Trek, and be sure to check out Revenant Reads. That event is June, July, August, which is awesome. I love that there's 3 months to participate in that. But I've also wanted to revisit the original Star Wars books. So I'm so glad that I found this copy at the thrift store. What I also found in that section is The Force Awakens. This, of course, is one of the newer stories, and this is by Alan Dean Foster, the author who had written the Star Trek logbook series that I just recently found through my thrift store. I'm looking forward to this because, of course, we have the original and then up to the newer times. I am glad that it's Alan Dean Foster who is the author of this, because I can't say that I've been overly impressed with some of the newer movies, certainly where they went with the role of Luke Skywalker. It just, as someone who was sitting in the theaters when these were first released and looking forward to the continuation, yeah, I have to say I'm disappointed where some of the newer movies went, but that's what happens when people who start a project sell off to other people and those people don't have the same vision and things change drastically over time. I'm just doing great today with these segues. The edge of time. The final countdown has begun. This is by Peter and Patty Lalonde. Again, we have the world is being set up for the greatest deception of all time. I mean, I have to admit, when I first read that, I'm like, do you really want to read this? And then I'm like, oh, heck yeah, because I've got, we've got from one side Dawkins, who there is no God. I've got my books trying to figure out the Bible and different quotes, and are people misquoting and, of course, taking things out of context. And then I've got on the other extreme the Book of Signs, which I still need to get to. And then these folks who, it's the end times. I'm like, really? Is that still a thing? Because I was born in the 60s and I've lost count of the number of people who've made millions of dollars talking about the end times, which, hello, 2024, still here. But I'm always curious to see where these people go with it. And hey, it was on sale, $4.50. I can spend a bit of time scratching my head going, how do people believe this stuff? But that's just my psychology background. I'm just curious how people come up with some of this stuff. And I'm equally curious, how do other people buy into that? But Death by Black Hole, speaking of end times. This is by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yes, I am still irritated he took Pluto off the planet list. That was just wrong, but that's my biased opinion. Other than that, I do enjoy his works. I've watched his series Cosmos, A Space-Time Odyssey. Very much enjoyed it. He was connected with Carl Sagan, and Carl Sagan is the person who definitely got me interested in astronomy and continuing to follow on with that subject. All the books up in this corner, which you can't see because I have the one on the angle right now, are all my astronomy books. I picked this one up because this has to do with black holes. I just recently picked up a book by Stephen Hawking, although it's an older book. He was talking about black holes in there, his theory, how he's had to adjust some of it. So now I want to find out what Neil deGrasse Tyson has to say about black holes. We're almost at the end. Cracking the Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci theme was just going on during this shopping adventure. I just finished a book called Breaking the Da Vinci Code, which was a fascinating read, and I very much enjoyed that. I'm curious to see what another author has to say about it. This is the unauthorized guide to the facts behind Dan Brown's best-selling novel. And I see there is, okay, bonus. Someone also cut out some newspaper articles about the code. See, you just never know what you're going to find when you get books at the thrift store. And this is in perfect shape. Spine one piece, cover all in excellent condition. Goes through different symbols, so this may be a bit of a different read. There's an illustration section. Okay, very excited, and like I say, This will be a different take from the other story I just finished, from the other book I just finished. Campfire Legends. This is edited by John Long. We've got the ghostly house, we've got the moon, odd things going on here. It almost looks like water coming about to crash over. It's just funny. It says Campfire Legends, but there's no campfire. The authors in this book include John Lutz, Catherine Mansfield, Boccaccio, may have said that wrong, John Lang, James Dickey, Tim O'Brien, Edgar Allan Poe, William Faulkner, Willa Cather. Edgar Allan Poe is the only name that I automatically recognize, and I've read a few Poe stories. I need to get to reading more of his. William Faulkner. I'm not sure if that's the Faulkner everyone's been talking about lately on BookTube. I've never read him, so I'm not sure. And again, to keep it light, because I've been making a point of going into the humor section, I found Irma Bomback. I also picked up the Penguin Book of Canadian Jokes. This is by John Robert Colombo. It's an author that I know, but comically because I have one of his ghost story collections. I've enjoyed his writing there, and I just thought it would be fun to have a book about Canadian jokes, and I will be reading through those. I also have Stuart McLean. I picked up 3 of the books at the thrift store, but before that I had the Vinyl Cafe CD collections, so I enjoy Canadian humor, looking forward to some chuckles and some light reading. I also picked up another Julia Cameron. This is with Emma Lively. Prosperity Every Day, a daily companion on your journey to greater wealth and happiness. And I love the way the edges on this book. I love the title. It's a saying per day. That was my Feel Better shop. This La Vienne rose bag has come in uber handy. Not only did it bring home all my comfy, cozy jammers last year when I was on a pajama haul, eventually I will do that PJs everyday video. There just seems to be so many other things I'm getting to at the moment. I need to catch up on some tags from people. I have my own theme of the ghosts and books to finish. If you're still here, thank you so much. If you've read any of these authors, let me know down below. What did you think of them? Did you enjoy the read? Have I mentioned someone that you're now curious about reading? And until next time, remember, if it's maybe not such a great day, book shopping always makes it better. Take care.